Hi, I'm Matthew Sherrington, and when Adrian said he was going to wear red braces, I said, if you do, I'll wear a hat. I thought he was joking. What I've really enjoyed about today is connections. I mean, fundraising is about connecting people to causes, and I've loved that. I have a great-great-grandfather who was a lifeboatman in the 1870s when they rowed, which is absolutely phenomenal. And for Richard to show the Oxfam ad, I was there in South Africa filming that, and I'm not even his deep throat. So that's really, really great. And bee cause. I got stung by a bloody bee 2 days ago. And that's a good sign because they're back in my garden. Bastard. Okay, so this is a special thing that my daughter Ruby made. I have a daughter who's 13. That's another thing I found out today. She's 14 next Wednesday. She shares a birthday with Anne Frank. How about that? So there's a campaign that she's going to have to do. Anyway, for Christmas, Ruby gave me this. She's a knitter. She's a fantastic knitter, and she made me this little iPod cover. If anybody's interested in orders, you can check it out later. It even comes with a little pink made by Ruby tag. It's a very special thing. Anyway, Ruby is a knitter, and oh, this works. No, wrong way. And Ruby, I think, got it from her great-grandmother, my grandmother. This is Granny Sherrington. And Granny Sherrington was a demon knitter. I mean, she was a demon knitter. She would knit everything and anything. Scarves, gloves, hats, jumpers, trousers, for my sister's dolls. And, yeah. And in her spare time, she knitted squares. She knitted squares that were taken down to her local church and knitted, stitched together into blankets like this. Now, blankets, back in the day, I mean, knitted squares into knitted blankets, these were shipped overseas by development charities, including Oxfam. You know, because it gets cold, poor people need blankets, and it was something that people could do. It was a very organised thing. And when I was working for Oxfam in the 90s, I can remember my grandmother saying to me, said, when I do this, I always think of Matthew's starving babies in Africa. Okay, you know, put aside the Daily Mail speak. You know, her heart was in the right place, and that is what motivated her. The thought of children suffering in far-off places she'd never been. You know, she went abroad once, as far as Paris, and didn't like the food. You know, so but she was really passionate about injustice and poverty and doing the right thing. And this is what she did. She knitted squares. In her late 80s, she developed diabetes and went blind. She went blind, and there wasn't a lot she could do. She couldn't read, she couldn't enjoy the telly, she was on her own by then, so she couldn't go out. And after a cooking accident, when she scalded her hands, she had to go into sheltered accommodation care home. The one thing that she could do was knit squares, because she could literally do that with her eyes shut. And she kept knitting squares. She kept knitting squares after Oxfam stopped shipping blankets overseas. And they did that for all the right reasons. It was better to stimulate the local economy. There were people who could do it there. It cost an awful lot to ship them. But it left huge numbers of committed knitters feeling a bit unappreciated, feeling a bit, you know, redundant. The jargon would be disempowered. So you can imagine that, you know, since knitting squares was pretty much what kept my grandmother going, I didn't have the heart to tell her that actually they weren't going anywhere anymore. Those knitting squares, that they kept her going until, you know, she developed Alzheimer's and and she was lost to us. So for all these reasons, this is why I love this campaign. Save the Children's Knit One, Save One campaign from about 5 years ago. And when this campaign first came out, I thought of my granny. So this is a fantastic campaign. The motivations behind it, it started life as a campaigning campaign. This was thought up by the campaigns department. They wanted a very simple message to Prime Minister Gordon Brown, basically to get people to say to him, but if I can do something really simple to save a child's life, what can you as the Prime Minister of the UK do? And this was a little simple thing that they thought. So it started life as a stunt, really. They didn't expect it to be that big, get taken up. They probably didn't want it to, for exactly the same reasons as Oxfam stopped shipping blankets. I mean, what do you do with a bunch of hats? It was absolutely massive, absolutely massive. 100,000 people knitted 800,000 hats. It got picked up by Paul O'Grady on his daytime TV. Members of Parliament got going. Absolutely staggering. And 40,000 of those 100,000 knitters wrote a letter or a little card to the Prime Minister urging him to do something. Now we're talking about 40,000 people like my granny doing a campaign action. Unbelievable, unbelievable. So, and obviously the issue is still very relevant today. This weekend is the Hunger Summit. The IF rally is in Hyde Park on Saturday. Anybody going? A few of you, but not enough. Really, really critical cause. And today's news that, if you heard it, but today's news that half of children who die before the age of 5 are affected by malnutrition. That is more than they thought. That's 3 million children a year die because of malnutrition. And yesterday we thought it was just 2 million. So it's a big, serious thing. So the IF campaign has their rally. I'm wearing my little IF bracelet. Anybody else wearing their little IF bracelet? No. No, nobody. Well, I want you to imagine my granny. Ken is wearing his bracelet. I want you to imagine my granny and imagine whether she would be wearing a bracelet. I can bet that if none of you are, except Ken and me, the answer is no. But she was knitting squares. So, why I love this campaign. Oh, I haven't finished yet. One more. Here we go. This is what it's like. This is what it's like. And this is what the hats are like, by the way. I've got one. But it just sits on your fist. Absolutely beautiful. So, why I love this campaign is that we talk a lot about retention and the challenges of retention and keeping supporters. And the most powerful thing in keeping supporters committed or concerned about their cause is to help them feel connected to their cause, to help them feel that the little thing that they can do really, really makes a difference. And why I love this campaign is that it isn't just about feeling, it isn't just about believing that we're making a difference, it's absolutely knowing. 100,000 people like my granny knitted hats, knowing that by sitting on a baby's head somewhere around the world, they were saving their life directly, protecting them from hypothermia. That is directly making a difference to the cause, directly saving a life. And I find that hugely powerful. So every one of those 800,000 hats is sitting on a baby's head. Oh, well, apart from this one. This is doing its job, I guess, being talked about, so you can call that admin. Why I love this campaign, just to close, why I love this campaign is that if my granny, who if she was still alive, she'd be about 107 now, if my granny had been younger, and if my daughter had been older, they would have been unstoppable. So a campaign that would have excited people born 95 years apart, I think is absolutely awesome. And that's why I wish I'd thought of this.